Today is December 5th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we're going to continue our journey through Chapter 10 to Employers. We'll be reading page 140. At the 12 and 12, we're on Tradition 7. We'll be reading page 163. And we'll read the 24 hours a day in daily reflection. So with that, hope you all are doing well this morning, my friends. We've been given another set of 24 hours. Brand new set, clean slate. That is always an exciting thing. So let's get to the good stuff. Chapter 10 to Employers, page 140. Can you discard the feeling that you are dealing only with habit, with stubbornness, or a weak will? If this presents difficulty, rereading chapters 2 and 3 where the alcoholic sickness is discussed at length might be worthwhile. You, as a businessman, want to know the necessities before considering the result. If you can see that your employee is ill, can he be forgiven for what he has done in the past? Can his past absurdities be forgotten? Can it be appreciated that he has been a victim of crooked thinking, directly caused by the action of alcohol on his brain? I well remember the shock that I received when a prominent doctor in Chicago told me of cases where pressure of the spinal fluid actually ruptured the brain. No wonder an alcoholic is strangely irrational. Who wouldn't be with such a fevered brain? Normal drinkers are not so affected, nor can they understand the aberrations of the alcoholic. Your man has probably been trying to conceal a number of scrapes, perhaps pretty messy ones. They may be disgusting. You may be at a loss to understand how such a seemingly above-board chap could be so involved. But these scrapes can generally be charged, no matter how bad, to the abnormal action of alcohol on his mind. When drinking, or getting over a bout, an alcoholic, sometimes the model of honesty when normal, will do incredible things. Afterward, his revulsion will be terrible. Nearly always, these antics indicate nothing more than temporary conditions. At the 12 and 12, we're on Tradition 7. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. And if you recall from yesterday's reading, Bill he was talking about how he was overwhelmed. He and another person that worked in the New York Foundation were overwhelmed with all the mail coming in. So he's asked for some financial help here, and he's not receiving much. However, a friend of his who comes in with a hangover, Bill decides, you know what, I'm going to give him $5 from our money, even though they really needed it. And I'm going to help this guy out. We'll see where this goes on page 163. The meeting that night was at New York's old 24th Street clubhouse. During the intermission, the treasurer gave a timid talk on how broke the club was. That was in the period when you couldn't mix money in AA. But finally he said it. The landlord would put us out if we didn't pay up. He concluded his remarks by saying, "Now boys, please go heavier on the hat tonight, will you?" I heard all this quite plainly as I was piously trying to convert a newcomer who sat next to me. The hat came in my direction and I reached into my pocket. Still working on my prospect, I fumbled and came up with a 50-cent piece. Somehow it looked like a very big coin. Hastily I dropped it back and fished out a dime, which clinked thinly as I dropped it into the hat. Hats never got folding money in those days. Then I woke up. I, who had boasted my generosity that morning, was treating my own club worse than the distant alcoholics who'd forgotten to send the foundation their dollars. I realized that my $5 gift to the slippee was an ego-feeding proposition. Bad for him and bad for me. There was a place in AA where spirituality and money would mix, and that was in the hat. There's another story about money. One night in 1948, the trustees of the foundation were having their quarterly meeting. The agenda discussion included a very important question. A certain lady had died, and when her will was read, it was discovered that she left Alcoholics Anonymous in trust with the Alcoholic Foundation a sum of $10,000. The question was, should AA take the gift? "24 hours a day, December 5th. AA thought for the day. In spite of all we have learned in AA, our old way of thinking comes back on us, sometimes with overwhelming force, and occasionally some of us have slips. We forget or refuse to call on our higher power for help. We seem to deliberately make our minds a blank so far as AA training goes, and we take a drink. We eventually get drunk. We are temporarily right back where we started from. Those who have had slips say unanimously that they were no fun. They say that AA had taken all the pleasure out of drinking. They knew that they were doing wrong. The old mental conflict was back in full force, and they were disgusted with themselves. Am I convinced that I can never get anything more out of drinking? Meditation for the day. Give something to those who are having trouble, to those whose thoughts are confused. Something of your sympathy, your prayers, your time, your love, your thought, yourself. Then give of your own confidence, as you have had it given to you by the grace of God. Give of yourself and of your loving sympathy. Give your best to those who need it and will accept it. Give according to need. Remember that the giving of advice can never take the place of giving of yourself. Prayer for the day. I pray that as I have received, so may I give. I pray that I may have the right answer for those who are confused. Daily Reflection, December 5th. A new state of consciousness. He has been granted a gift which amounts to a new state of consciousness and being. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 107. Many of us in the AA puzzle over what is a spiritual awakening. I tended to look for a miracle, something dramatic and earth-shattering. But what usually happens is that a sense of well-being, a feeling of peace, transforms us into a new level of awareness. That's what happened to me. My insanity and inner turmoil disappeared, and I'd entered into a new dimension of hope, love, and peace. I think the degree to which I continue to experience this new dimension is in direct proportion to the sincerity, depth, and devotion with which I practice the 12 steps of AA. Alright, my friends, that concludes today's reading, and man, I love this last reading. It's powerful. Talking about that spiritual awakening, I never really had the lightning bolt kind of experience or anything like that, although I've heard of many who have had that sudden spiritual experience. For me, it's been a gradual process, and I love this last line. The degree to which I continue to experience this new dimension of peace and serenity is in direct proportion to the sincerity, that means the honesty, the depth, and devotion which I practice the 12 steps of AA. So for me, if I practice these steps in a very practical way today, so what does that look like? Well, taking that personal inventory for me, turning my will and my life over to the care of the God of my understanding, admitting when I'm wrong promptly, practicing these spiritual principles in all of my affairs, not just the drinking part. If I can do these things today honestly and in depth, I think that peace will come as a byproduct of all that. When I don't do these things, that's when the anxiety or the insecurity starts to drift in. And it's been my experience, that's for sure. But my friends, that's all we have time for today. As always, I don't speak on behalf of AA or NA or Al-Anon, any other sect. I am just a friend in this lifeboat of recovery, and it is an honor to be here today. If we're given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.